Pusha T. Y'all are gonna love this. Pusha T. I gave him a 9 in lyrics.
So did I.
Voice, I gave him an 8.
So did I.
Delivery, I gave him a 9.
I gave him a 10.
Okay, I ain't mad at that. Storytelling, 7.
Same here.
Catalog albums, gave him an 8.
So did I, but that was thinking about the clip stuff too. If it would have been just his catalog, I still would have went 7, and that's with Daytona.
Yeah, and I saw somebody when we were talking about Method Man, they said we should just count their solo stuff, but we're talking about the overall abilities of the MC, so I think it's, and I don't want to be contradictory because we say that stuff about...
The group work is fair because it speaks to their talents.
It does.
Like, his hook game is all over Wu-Tang albums, not his albums. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, storytelling, Pusha T, where we at? 7. All right. Catalog of albums, 8. Collaborations, I gave him a 9.
I gave him an 8.
Because I'm sitting here thinking about Runaway, thinking about Justin Timberlake. I'm thinking about...
You know Justin Timberlake?
I'm just saying, these are collaborations.
That's valid. I did not think about those records.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Trap or Die 2, like Illin. I'm thinking what happened
Yeah.
No, but
I'm thinking about 22 niggas, 2 to a car, 11 flagships with the 3-point star.
You want to know what? I think I'm going to have to give him a 9, and that's my guy.
And not to mention, So Appalled. When it's time to show up.
So Appalled might be his best guest appearance. Oof.
He jumped on that Maybach music that he got his verse taken off, and it was the most memorable moment, and it wasn't even on the album.
That's true. No, I'm bumping him up to a 9 for collaborations. You're right. I had him at an 8. You're right.
I think that's one of his stronger attributes, actually.
Yeah, because he delivers when it's time when he collabs, too. I was thinking about Name Me King on Jesus Piece, too.
Longevity. I mean, I did him wrong on this. I gave him... Oh, Longevity of Records. Excuse me. No. Longevity of Records, I gave him an 8.
So did I.
Okay. Longevity of Career, I gave him a 10.
I gave him a 9.
Okay.
But you want to know what?
As good as he is this late in the game.
That's exactly what I was about to say. As good as he is this late, you're right. I'm going to give him a 10. But you want to know what? I rated him just as hard as I rated Nas, because who are my 2 favorite MCs. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give him a 10 for Longevity of Career because he's been around. Like, people have to understand that they used to be called Full Eclipse. And so their first album dropped like 1999, I want to say.
Battle Tested, 10.
10.
Legacy, I give him an 8.
Legacy, I gave him a 7.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. Live performance, I give him an 8.
I gave him a 7.
Okay, I'm not mad at that either because I hadn't really seen any real standout performances. But when I do see him perform, it's dope.
It's solid.
Yeah,
7. Like 7 for me means it's like, well, you're doing what you're supposed to do as an upper echelon MC.
Content, I gave him a 7. Intangibles, I gave him an 8. He lets his presence be felt.
Same here. I gave him an 8 for Intangibles too.
Hook game, I gave him an 8.
So did I. We're having the same thoughts about Push. Yep. I gave him an 8 for Hook game.
Versatility, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 7, but I actually want to take that up to 8 based on what you were saying about the collaborations, though.
Yeah. So I gave him 125 overall.
Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, so you got somebody like Push. Like, Push ain't gonna rate too far behind like Rakim.
Well, on my scale, he's a good 8 points behind Rakim. But again, we're gonna rework this stuff.
But it's that's what I'm saying. That's based on the scale that you already have without any changes, and also too, that's 15 criteria. So when somebody is within 8 points on a criteria of 15, like they're in your wheelhouse.
No, you're right. You're
in your wheelhouse as an MC. Yeah.
Okay, so J. Cole, people are gonna love this too. Lyrics, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 9.
I'm not mad at that. Voice, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 7.
Okay. Not mad at that either. So that kind of balanced each other out right there. Delivery, I gave him a 9.
I gave him an 8.
Storytelling, I gave him a 9.
I gave him an 8, but I actually think I should make that a 9.
Okay.
Because based on the other guys we've been talking about and how we're placing their stories and how y'all are rating Jay's stories, and I know Cole's a better storyteller.
Cole has proven he's a better storyteller than Jay.
Yeah, so 9. Yeah.
Catalog of albums, 8.
7.
Not mad at that either. Collaborations, which I think are one of his strongest attributes, I gave him a 9.
I gave him a 9 as well.
Longevity of records, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 7.
Longevity of career, I'm giving him a 9.
I gave him an 8. When did he come out?
He came out around like 2010, 11-ish.
So he's 10, 12 years in. That's an 8, yeah. Because where rap is now, Illmatic came out in 1994. I've been listening to Live at the Barbecue since 1991. 3 decades.
I just get the feeling that he's just gonna be around, though. You know what I mean? Like but
we can't base it on that.
We can't tell.
I wrote a whole article about Kendrick Lamar being a top 10 MC over 5 years ago because I talked about his trajectory and pace.
Yeah, and that just went up the creek.
Right. So 8. Because right now he's about 10, 12 years in. And if we're putting that in relationship to somebody like Pusha T that's 23 years in, or Jay-Z who's like 28 years in, or Nas who's like 31 years in, or KRS-One like most of his freaking life. You get what I'm saying?
Definitely. All right. Yeah. J. Cole being battle tested, 7.
I gave that a 7 as well. Just hasn't happened.
Legacy, I gave him a 10.
I gave him a 10 for Legacy too. Because he is the most revered artist, along with Kendrick, from his era.
That's exactly. That was my.
And the reverence is real. And the reverence is real from the smoke we catch anytime we critique him with anything that seems like it's less than a 9 or a 10.
Live performance, I gave him a 10. He's a great performer.
I gave him a 7, but I was gonna kind of had a star by that because I've never really seen him perform live. Really? I was gonna rely on you more for that.
Nah, man, his live performances are super dope. The clarity, breath control. I'm sure some people in the room can speak to J. Cole's live performance ability. I will give him that credit.
I'm going to trust you and give him a 10 for that. I gave him a 7 just based on the things that I've seen image-wise. It's like solid doing your job, but can't speak to it really enough to know. But I'll side with you on that and give him a 10 for that.
Because I was debating between that and a 9. Content, I gave him a 10. Because I think that's what people love him so much for.
Yeah, I gave him a 10 for content as well.
Okay. Intangibles, I gave him an 8.
Me too.
Hook game, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 7 for hook game.
Versatility, I gave him a 9. And a lot of that's because what he's doing right now is super versatile.
I gave him a 9 for versatility as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. J5 says Coop, Cole is dope live. And Christopher Hogan says Cole is a 10 performer. Another person said Cole is 10 live. Saw him a few months ago.
Okay. So, and I'm gonna tell you something that's crazy. I've seen almost every rapper that you would want to see live, except for the greatest rapper to come out of my home state. Isn't that crazy? It's funny how it was. No, I mean it hasn't been intentional.
Right. It just didn't happen.
It just ain't happened.
Okay. Let's go to Kendrick Lamar.
But look, the way that he's sticking around right now, I'm probably going to end up seeing him like in this year and like reporting it for according to hip hop. Right?
Yes, when Coop sees him live, we're going to be reporting live. Like, look, Coop is at a J. Cole concert.
Yeah, Coop's first appearance at a J. Cole concert. We can make a whole deal out of that because I have no opinion.
Y'all ready for Kendrick Lamar? Let's do this.
Hold
on. Let me get the overall score from Cole first. 130.
Okay.
I got 130 for Cole. Again, we'll make some adjustments and whatnot. Mad Max in the super chat says, Pusha not a 10 for longevity. Laughing my ass off. He dropped every election or graduation cycle. Cut it out with Push. We'll get to all that.
We'll stop. There's 4 full-length Clips albums. I think there's 4 full-length solo Pusha T projects. There's one official Re-Up Gang project that's been released. There's about 4 Re-Up Gang mixtapes have been released. There's about 4 mixtapes from him that have been released. So when he's saying that, you're talking to a guy that has about 16 or 17 projects worth of material floating around.
And not to mention he made an album as great as Daytona 20 years into his rap career. The overall score for J. Cole was 130. Because Nas the GOAT was asking.
And here's something I want to say, too. I think Pusha T is the first guy to make his best project 2 decades into his career.
I think so.
That's like winning the MVP award when you're about to retire.
For real. Y'all ready for Kendrick, though? Mr. Buck said, Lord, here we go with Kendrick. Here we go. Lyrics, I gave him a 10.
Gave him a 9.
Voice, I gave him a 7.
I gave him a 6.
Delivery, I gave him a 10.
Delivery, I gave him a 9. But when I think about it, I'm cool with the delivery.
His delivery's crazy. I will give him that.
No. I was about to say that was me hating. There we go. I was hating right there. Delivery's a 10.
Storytelling, I gave him a 10.
I gave him a 9.
I think he's the best storyteller over there.
Hold on. Okay, so how about this? When you're saying that, where is he all time as a storyteller? Because here's a 10 storyteller: Nas, Scarface, Ghostface, Tupac, Ice Cube. Is he those guys? Slick Rick, of course.
I think he could get into. I think he can get into that Tupac and Ice Cube realm. I'm not even gonna lie. Now, as far as like Slick Rick, Nas, Ghost, and Scarface, I think they're somewhere else. But I think he falls in that Tupac Ice Cube range.
Are we giving out halfsies? Because this would be a 9.5 for me, because I'm not cool with giving him a 10 on storytelling. Because that is saying he is where Nas and Scarface, Ghostface, Slick Rick
I think you're right. I mean, if we want to go 9 or 9.5, I'm okay with that.
Well, let's meet in the middle.
Brian says storytelling is a 10 easily.
No. I'm gonna go 9.5 because he's not where Nas and Scarface and Ghostface and Slick Rick are, and that's what a 10 is. So we go 9.5.
Okay. Catalog of albums, I gave him a 10.
I gave him a 9. Because you on the clock.
Because of the break?
Yep. You got a 9 because you on the clock. You damn right.
Okay. That's fair.
No. Let's find He's smoking on our top 5, Mike. Never forget that.
Collaborations, I gave him a 7.
You gave him a 6. What collaborations?
Yeah. And that's based on the early collaborations, honestly.
There aren't enough of them.
It aren't. They are.
And they're not stellar. Like Collard Greens on Schoolboy Q's up. That's not like some sort of stellar show up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
nah, I feel like he messed up Travis Scott's Goosebumps. That song could go without him.
Could.
Not to mention that red light, green light, red light, green light.
Yeah,
But that on the Black Panther with Future and all that. Okay. Longevity of records, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 7.
I'm not mad at that. I'm thinking now I should have possibly given him a 7. Longevity of career, I've given him an 8. What did you say?
Giving him a 6. One for every year that he's been here.
When I read that off, I was thinking about it. I was like, I can't wait to hear what he says. I'm not mad at that. So you gave him 1 point for every year he's actually shown up. So longevity, he gets a 6.
Right. I want people to understand how long he showed up to work for. Because people keep acting like he showed up to work. It's like, no. The nigga went to work for 6 years.
So Section 80 is 2011.
Real talk.
Good Kid, Mad City is 2012.
Hold on, stop. Listen to this. If we give him any sort of longevity, you understand, like, Nas doesn't make Stillmatic, Lost Tapes, or Godson, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Jay Short says Cole gonna make it to the Hall of Fame as an across the board 7. Shaking my head. Hey man, you gotta just get on base, man. He on some Tony Gwynn stuff.
No. Hey, I'm about to say Cole. Hey, Cole might be Tony Gwynn. Can't strike him out. Always get on base. There's nothing wrong with that. I love Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, me too. Okay. So, I can't wait to hear what you got to say about this one too. Battle Tested, I gave him a 7.
You gave him a 6.
I'm not mad at that either because he's smoking on your top 5. And he put the control verse out there. And when the smoke came, there was no return fire.
6.
Yeah, that's being generous. And the more I quote that, I gave him a 7. I'm thinking 5. I know y'all gonna say Mike hating.
No, understand he's not getting 5s about this stuff, so people don't say that I'm hating. That's why he's getting some 6s.
Okay.
He deserves some 5s for this. Stop acting like this shit is okay.
Legacy, I gave him a 10.
Legacy, I gave him a 9.
Because he's held so high.
And that's why he has a 9 right now. But what I keep trying to tell you is we're discussing a legacy for somebody that rapped for 6 years. And so it's like,
Okay.
I'm gonna keep on saying the facts of it, so people will stop saying I'm hating. So he only rapped for 6 years, therefore legacy is like at a 9. Because you want to know what that says? Like, you know, who Gail Sayers is, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is Gail Sayers' legacy in relationship to somebody like a Walter Payton or a Barry Sanders or a Jim Brown? Because he didn't play as much or as long. It's not that he wasn't as great. He didn't play as much or as long, so his legacy doesn't get rated the same.
I think that's accurate. Kendrick, we need an album from you, man.
No, he needs an album for him.
You know what? Let's rephrase that. You're right. He needs
We don't
an album.
need anything from him.
The game is actually fine right now.
We need to make an album about your legacy and nothing else. You ain't doing shit for us. You're not doing anything for hip hop. We're not missing you. I'm not missing you. I'm having a great time covering Conway's album, Currency's album. Saba dropped a great project. Nas is on a run with Hit Boy. Game is not missing you unless you show that the game is missing you.
Speaking of the game, I'm looking forward to Drillmatic as well. Mad Max with the super chat. Shout out to you. He said, K-Dot albums, not no 10. It's an 8. Laughing my ass out. No replay value like that after Good Kid, Mad City. And you know what I think that
longevity is 7. Good Kid, Mad City has all the replay value, Mike. All of his replay value is in one album. What does that say?
I think that's fair. All right, let me get back to it. So live performance, I gave him a 10.
Gave him a 7.
Woo! Hold on.
Where does he perform? Who does he perform?
Hold up. He performed at the Super Bowl.
How did that go?
I mean, listen, I know I talked about his gimmicks and all that being tired, but what I will say, his breath control and his ability to perform and get those songs out and get those bars out, I will give him a 10. Do you know
that he can still do that though, Mike? How do you know?
He did that at the Super Bowl.
He did it for one song. That's not performing to me. That's not an expression of breath control as an MC when you perform.
Hey, Kendrick, you gotta come back, man. You gotta come back.
Smoking on my top 5. He said he was smoking on your top 5 too.
I gave him a 10.
We don't know what you're doing. You're giving him a 10 based on what?
Well, he's one of the headliners for Rolling Loud. That's happening.
Okay, you want to know what? I'm gonna be nice. You gave him a 10 for performance?
I did. He's a great performer. The Grammy performance that he did, you know, even though I don't like all them jail suits and all that.
Grammy performance.
He puts on very theatrical performances and he executes really well on a technical level. When it comes to technicality shit, he's very high on that. And the live performance is one of those. I will give him that.
I'll give him a 9. But I mean, I haven't seen any performances on so long. I just don't really know what's going on.
Joe Bro said, "It's no point of this. Y'all are just hating at this point."
No.
I think he's a 10.
He's not rapping at this point. That's what's going on. It's a 9. I give him a 9. We're not giving him a 10 because then you're saying he's KRS-One on stage. You get what I'm saying? Is he KRS on stage?
He doesn't have the voice for that.
Does he have the presence for that?
I don't know. I think he may have the presence.
Does he have the catalog for that?
No, listen, if you want to say it in those terms, and again, we're going to adjust a lot of this. If KRS is a 10, live performance, and Big Daddy Kane's a 10, yes,
he's not a 10.
He's a 9, yeah.
Then he's a 9. We'll give him 9. Okay.
Yeah. But that changes Cole's rating, too, a little bit. All right. Content, I gave him a 10.
I gave him a 10.
Intangibles, I gave him an 8.
Me too.
Hook game, I gave him a 9.
Hook game, I gave him a 7. I don't think his hooks are that great.
I think he does really well putting together hooks. He did that on Damn very well. It's just him. I mean, he doesn't really get... Huh?
I'm about to say, he does take a lot of solo missions, and so I want to up that and give him an 8 instead of a 7, because the solo mission is tough to do, and he does take on the task of his hooks a lot.
Because it's not like he goes out there and, gets people to get on his hooks, or it's not like he goes out there and uses samples as his hooks either. So,
you want to know what? When you say it like that, I can give him a 9 for his hooks, Mike, because he's creative with his hooks.
Yeah,
My Vibe is one of my favorite hooks ever, just because of the originality.
Yeah, he's dope with his hooks.
Yeah, I give him a 9 for hooks.
Versatility, I gave him an 8.
I gave him an 8 for versatility as well.
So my overall score, while y'all saying we hating, my overall score for Kendrick was a 132, and Cole got a 130. But again, we're gonna adjust all this anyway, just based on some of y'all comments, and we're gonna go back and look, see what y'all saying too.
Right.
You ready to go to Conway the Machine?
Yeah, come on.
Conway, I gave him a 9 on lyrics,
Me too.
7 on voice,
Me too.
delivery 8,
Me too.
storytelling 8.
I went 9 on the storytelling.
Okay. Catalog of albums, I gave him an 8.
So did I.
Okay. Collaborations, I gave him an 8.
So did I.
Longevity of records, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 7.
Okay. Longevity of career, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 6.
Okay.
Because guess what?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because he's been rapping for 6 years. About 7.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with Kendrick. See how people like, oh, you hating on Kendrick? It's like, no. We didn't get the Conway. Gave him the same 6 because he hasn't been around that long.
Battle tested, I gave him a 7.
Me too.
Legacy, I gave him a 7.
Me too.
Live performance, I gave him an 8.
him
I've seen the Cow perform live. Content, I gave him a 9.
Content, I gave him an 8.
Intangibles, I gave him a 9 actually.
Intangibles, I gave him a 10.
Okay. Hook game, I gave him an 8.
So did I.
Versatility, I gave him a 10.
I gave him a 7 for versatility, but
Really? I'm thinking about versatility on the tracks. You know what I'm saying?
And what I was about to say, based on how you've been rating it and me being in agreement with that, I'm okay with giving him a 9 for versatility, but not a 10.
His versatility is what's impressed me the most about this run, and his ability to make damn near different type of albums. Like he just literally made 3 different type of albums.
When you say it like that, it's kind of 10-ish, but I will beg. And you're never really gonna hear me say this. Is like, well, don't he need some more hit records and some bangers for that to be a 10 though?
Okay, that's fair.
Just being honest, if we're being fair, like to the hit makers on that side of things, it's like, you know what I'm saying? So I can give you the 9, but I don't know if we can go 10 on versatility just yet.
Civil Day Music TV asks, what is the intangibles? You want to explain that?
The best way that I can explain it is that I used to work for a gentleman used to work for his company named Ryan Turner. Ryan Turner used to be head of the Restaurant Association here in the state of Georgia. But he said something that always resonated with me. And he said, you hire what you can't teach. And so that's what intangibles are. They're the things that you can't teach, that can't be taught. It's like you got that or you don't. Like there's something about Snoop on a Dr. Dre track that intangibly sounds better than everybody else when it does it. Mm-hmm. Intangibly, there's something about Conway that resonates with the streets. It's a pain. It resonates. It's intangible. You don't really know why it pulls at you. You just know that it pulls, and different rappers have different intangibles. But his intangibles are on 10 because he's in this conversation in the way that he talks and spits and looks. He's the only guy like that in this conversation.
Earl Holmes says, name a verse from him that make you say, God damn. All right, go on to YouTube after this show and look up The Cow.
Which one? I'm about to say which
one.
Look
up The Cow, Conway The Cow, or you want to go Jesus Christ, you can go that way too.
I'm about to say, actually, need to look up West Side Gun for The Cow, because that's actually on Hitler Wears Hermes.
No, I'm just saying if you go on YouTube and just put in Conway The Cow, it's West Side Tone, but it'll come up.
Yeah.
All right.
We can go plenty of stuff.
Here's the final person.
Hold on, tell him to pull up the verse on Brutus too, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Or Jesus Crisis, or the verse on Lemon, or the verse on Juvenile Hell, or the verse on Hell on Earth 2, or the verse on 98 Sabres. Or you get what I'm saying, Mike? What are you talking about, dude? Like
it just asks you questions.
Right.
There's the reference. All right, here's the last person. We got Lil Wayne here.
Where's he been though, Mike? That's what I'm saying. It's like, where have you been that you're asking questions like that about Conway at this point? Where have you been?
Well, Conway's not mainstream. Lyrics, 8 for Wayne.
Me too, 8.
Voice, I gave Wayne an 8.
Me too.
Delivery, I gave him a 10.
Damn right.
Storytelling, I gave him a 7.
Gave him a 6.
Catalog of albums, I gave Lil Wayne an 8.
Gave him a 7.
Okay. Collaborations, I gave him a 10.
Gave him a 9. But I'd like to move that to 10.
Longevity of records, I gave him an 8.
Hold on, let me see where we're at on longevity of records. I gave him a 7 on that.
Longevity of career, I gave him a 10.
Gave him a 10 for that as well.
Battle tested, I gave him a 7.
Gave him a 6.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Legacy, I gave him a 10.
So did I.
He's gonna be held super high.
He is
Live
held
performance, I gave him a 9. Live performance.
I gave him an 8. I was
Okay.
really impressed when I did see him live, though.
Content, I gave him a 7.
Content, I gave him a 6.
Intangibles, I gave him a 10.
Intangibles, I gave him a 9.
Hook game, I gave him a 10.
Hook game, I gave him a 9. But much like I'm thinking about Kendrick now, I kind of want to move that to 10, about the same reasons.
Red Nation is nuts.
No. His hook game is crazy.
Woo! Duffel Bag Boy is nuts.
No. 10. I was wrong. 9. I was wrong about Kendrick and Wayne on the hook game. They're both 10s on their hook game.
Versatility, I gave him a 9.
I gave him a 10 for
I could have given him a 10 for that.
Yeah, I gave him 10 for versatility. Mm-hmm.
Wayne scored pretty high on mine. He got a 131.
He got some home runs with me. Like, he got more 10s than most people do, but he got some low scores too about some stuff. But yeah, it was high.
Yeah. So yeah, we got to sort out this list all together, man. I wish we had a little bit more time. I know.
We're going to let the people take care of that.
Yeah, we're going to let the people take care of that. But, the people that we covered today, Rakim, KRS, Nas, Method Man, Jay-Z, Pusha T, Cole, Kendrick, Conway, Wayne. I guess we'll close it out like this. Just based on what I have here, the person that scored the highest was Nas.
Duh.
Nas scored a 142. And again, a lot of the stuff that Nas has been doing of recent had a lot to do with some of this.
Mike, your score is actually relative to what we've been saying on this podcast while Nas has been on this run. It's like, well, the separation in the GOAT conversation is this run that Nas is on. Because if you take this run, he's going to probably fall a little behind Jay and a little ahead of like Rakim and KRS probably.
No. The second person is Jay with 140.
Right. Yeah.
KRS ends up third with 139. Rakim has 133 at fourth. And you know what? Method Man ties Rakim with that fourth spot.
So look at your top 5. Look at the top 5.
That's crazy. And then you got Kendrick with 132. Then you got Wayne with 131. Then you got Cole with 130. Then we got Pusha T with 125. Then we got Conway with 122. Again, this is just a rough assessment. But
But hold on. But the way that list just played out is very, very comparable to how it would probably play out in reality right now if people were to rank it.
Yeah.
The only thing I see is Rakim being at 4, and people would probably put Rakim ahead of KRS, but everything else would kind of play viably that way, don't you say?
Yes, sir. We might have a surprise for you guys on Friday because I don't think there's any new music coming out. We're kind of working on this possible interview. It should be a dope interview. And also, I think Friday we're going to talk about episode 3 of Kanye West's Genius documentary. I'm sure there's a whole lot of great stuff in it. I wish we had a little bit more time to talk now, but we've been on for like 2 hours. So.
And also, too, this is just the start of this. We have more of these to come. But also, too, Mike, I mean, we might know a little bit about what we're talking about. We've been having a conversation about Nas being the greatest MC of all time in this run and keeping on being the separation. Breaking down the list and going through the shit, like, that's the separation we're talking about right there. Because it's like, really? Just off hook game is where he separated himself. What I was telling you, Mike, was like his hooks and his delivery sound crazy right now. Up him a couple points.
Yeah. No, that's for real. I'm about to look over the list again and you and I, we could talk offline, just, some of the things that we talked about here and just kind of correlate it with some of the things that the people are saying and really come with some definitive scores. But I don't think anything's going to be too much different from here.
Right.
And, I will say this, and for the Kendrick fans out there who feel a way about some of the way those things were played out, one more Kendrick record could really change things. Change the trajectory of how a lot of these things are scored. Because, again, these past 3 Nas efforts have definitely changed.
And he was
already solidified.
And he was already in this conversation. That's why it's like when y'all are talking about Kendrick, like this is just so set in stone. I'm thinking like nobody was set in stone after 6 years of rapping.
Straight up.
Straight up.
He's been taking a break. But yes, we're gonna holler at y'all Friday. Great show, Coop. And yeah, we got a lot to kind of go over and just review and look out for it on the community section. And we want to see y'all comments and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.